Alright guys, so today we're playing Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, one of the newer Need for Speed games. The first thing I'd like to mention before we really get into any of the gameplay or other topics that I'm going to talk about, I did play this match multiple times because I'm not the best racing game player, but the second time I played it I used this car, MP4 McLaren, and I just like to show it because it's really nice looking and it's one of my favorite cars. So now we're going to jump into the gameplay. And I eventually figured out that the only way for me to win was to use the Lamborghini Reventon, which just so happens to be the best car that I have unlocked in that class. It's more durable and obviously faster than the McLaren, so why not use it to try and beat the other racers. So in lieu of the gameplay, I'm also going to talk about the racing genre of gaming in general as well. I own a fair amount of racing games. On top of first-person shooters, I also like to play a lot of racing games. I haven't played a huge racing game since Need for Speed Hot Pursuit came out. The last one I really played was Burnout Paradise, and I didn't even really play that much either. So I haven't played racing games in a long time, and I'd really like to get back into them because I remember playing Need for Speed Most Wanted. I got the game, and I was just obsessed with it for 2 or 3 weeks just in a row, and I just wouldn't stop playing it for like days at a time simply because it was just an amazing game. So on the topic of Need for Speed Most Wanted, I'll jump into the Need for Speed series and what I really know about the Need for Speed series. First time I played Need for Speed was when Hot Pursuit 2 came out. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, the original Hot Pursuit series, and I played it at my friend's house, and it was really fun. He had a steering wheel attachment thing for his GameCube, I think. It didn't really work very well, and I wasn't very good at the game. I think I also played it on the arcade. I think they had Need for Speed Hot Pursuit in the arcades as well. I think at a putt-putt course near my house. But I really didn't get into racing until I got the game, until I played the game Need for Speed Underground 2 at my friend's house. And he showed me that you could customize the cars, and it was like really, really elaborate customizations. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. I want to build a really cool car like my friend. But I'm not really as good at making cool cars as my friend is, so I ended up actually trying to race in the game instead of just making cars, and I ended up liking it a lot. I didn't play Need for Speed Underground 2 that much because I was too young to really be good at the game, and if you play Need for Speed Underground 2, it's fairly difficult when you're young to really beat people and have the stamina to race again and again and again and again to beat the game. So I didn't really start racing until Need for Speed Most Wanted, which many people regard as one of the best racing games that's ever been released. Until I really played that, I didn't really play racing games a lot. And here, I'm just going to list some of the reasons why people really like Need for Speed Most Wanted, and some of the reasons why I really like the game as well. The first thing is the slow time option alongside the NOS option. So in many games, you can use the NOS option to increase your speed and give you that acceleration that you need to get to the top speed, or that quick boost after you've slammed into the wall and slowed down. But the slow time option was different. It's something that really wasn't implemented in any other racing game before Need for Speed Most Wanted, and it really gave you versatility in what you wanted to do. Not only could you NOS boost, but you could also slow time as you rounded corners in order to make sure that you didn't crash into the wall. A slow time when you're trying to avoid something in particular. You could micromanage your movements a lot easier in the slow time. And it worked very well, very much like the NOS indicator, where it had to kind of come back after you'd used it, and it wasn't really overusable. It wasn't something that broke the game. It made it a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. And also, the game was so hard that people were so hard to beat, or you had to beat them so many times to get their pink slip for their car, that there was no way that it could be a game-breaking, I guess, part of the game. The second thing I like to point out is somewhere in this video I know I run into a roadblock at some point. But in Need for Speed Most Wanted, what would happen if you ran into a roadblock is you would just barrel right through the entire thing. It kind of depended on what car you had and what kind of roadblock it was. I know if you had like the heavy-duty SUVs, you generally wouldn't like barrel through. You'd probably hit them, kind of get through, and then stop, but wedge your way through enough so you wouldn't get busted. But the earlier ones, the earlier roadblocks in Most Wanted, you could literally just flip the cars like they were plastic or paper and just like cut right through them like butter. I mean, you could use like a small Porsche car or any of like the smaller cars in the game, and you could just bust right through as long as you're going over like 150 miles an hour. And it was just awesome. It was a lot of fun to do that specifically, and I kind of missed that in this game because in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, in the newer one, when you hit the cops, you kind of just stop and crash, and you really have to make a point of avoiding the cops and slow down before you get there and navigate through just to make sure that you don't hit them. So that's one of the things about, I guess, the car chases that was a lot of fun in Most Wanted.